Well, here's some home movies that have survived from the early 1950s to the late 1970s. I'm Derek Mearden, producer of The Land of Make Believe, and with me is one of the real nieces of Uncle Arto and Aunt Glad, Linda Denton. Linda, I'm glad you're here.
Thank you very much for having me, Derek.
This is exciting, and you grew up with this land being built literally in your backyard in Upper J, New York, right?
Correct.
What did you think when you saw this castle going up here?
Well, when I saw that going up, I said, oh, wow. And it looked so huge. When you're a kid, it was enormous. And here you can see Uncle Arto had a great lineup of craftsmen and masons and everything that worked with him. And Uncle Arto always gave the credit to these people, not just himself, but for these people that helped him.
This is a part of the, well, here's the castle again. And then we saw just before that, and again coming up very quickly, this is a part of
Right,
the old
this is
Cactus Flats.
Right.
Who's that right there?
That's my dad.
And this is interesting because this is what? Cactus Flats and?
This is all the facades and covering up the workshop. And in there we had the paint shop, the welding shop, where they were building a lot of these buildings and plus building the rides.
So they build them in the workshop and then drag them out as we saw.
Right.
Who's this on the train?
Oh, it's Dirty Dan, the hold-up man, Arto.
That's Uncle Arto. And on a real steam train.
Right.
And you were telling me you think he's going too fast here?
He is, way too fast. Because the one time the train did tip over once.
Was he driving it?
No,
Oh.
another employee was driving it, and from then on, you weren't allowed to go over like 5 miles an hour. And this is Mr. Cameron.
He was the money behind the Land of Make Believe.
Correct.
And his daughter was the kind of the silent partner with Arto.
Kay Cameron.
Kay Cameron, and she kept track of the books. But Arto was smart. He had him down to drive
Oh.
the train, keep him
Did
involved.
you see the smile on his face? That was rare. And this is the first Billabong Bell. And
Being launched.
yes, well, they found out they knew it was going to float because that year they were building it. We had a flood in the workshop, and they came in that morning and it was floating around. So they said it'll work.
The only part of the Land of Make Believe that didn't go underwater as often as the rest of it. And that's Arto right there in front of you.
Oh, yes.
Always dapper. And always lots of instructions. Now these little houses were to scale and they followed some sort of story.
Well, fairy tale. Like the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, the clock maker,
The three
Peter
little-
Pumpkins.
Three Little Pigs.
No.
No, you didn't do Three Little Pigs?
No.
I love the way that the roofs are done on these, and everything is just sort of kind of canted, kind of tilted.
Well, these, if you'll notice on the schoolhouse,
That we just
was
saw.
off the original schoolhouse on Upper J.
That was the real schoolhouse?
Right, the boards and stuff were off the real one.
Oh, you took the wood off.
Right.
Okay. And this is the big sign out front. And boy, driving down Route 9, when you saw that, you had to pull in, huh?
Yeah. Well, that's it. He had to make a snap, make it, pull your
Yes.
eyes right to it. Oh, I want to go there. Look. And then you can notice even the shingles on this are all cut.
Hand cut and to
And-
scale. The further up you go,
Right.
the smaller they get.
Right.
And cedar shakes.
Right.
Amazing. And there it is. The park's going to open the following summer, and here comes the snow.
All right. During the wintertime, though, when the village closed up, the crews would get together in the shops and we'd do either new buildings or we'd build it for other amusement parks.
Great. Now this is the parking lot out front on a very busy day in the 50s. Man, what I wouldn't give for just one of those vintage automobiles today.
Now, Uncle Arto made all those flags.
Really?
He didn't like what they were selling, like in the catalog, so he went out and he said, I'll make my own.
Were they countries or were they just made up?
Made up, a lot of them. Some were countries, like the Australian flag hung off the Billabong Bell because Mr. Cameron was from Australia.
Okay. Nice wide shot of the Land of Make Believe here, tilting down into Cactus Flats. The matching ponies. And there is the coronation coach.
Uncle Arto built that. There was over 3,500 pieces to that coach.
Gorgeous.
And it was purple velvet inside.
The Three Bears.
Right? I love it in there when you go, it says, How to Avoid Hunters on one of the books.
Yeah, there were things, and these just weren't hollow buildings. These
No.
were, you had things to do inside the
Oh, yeah.
buildings, little chairs and wooden this and wooden that, and you could go in and have a good time. A lot of dress-up days, huh?
Oh, yes, the kids in town loved this because 2 days a week they were allowed to come in for free, and they could ride for free. But on certain days, they knew, the kids were told before they went in, if the line is busy, just step aside and let the paying customers go ahead.
Yeah.
And that was
beautiful
built there,
stagecoach.
too.
And
It's
that
a
still
replica.
exists.
Yes, and it's a replica of a Concord coach.
The real Western coach.
Right.
I love this.
And this little fire pumper that did spew water.
It
had a
did?
Yes, it had a little hose that came out and it,
I mean, even the baggage, even the horses on this
Right.
Coach are to scale.
right, and his horses, that was Shane and High Noon. He named them either after movies.
Shayna and High
Shane
Noon.
and High Noon.
Okay.
And he named them either after movie stars or gunfighters.
And this is Cam Eldridge. He's
Right.
on the commentary track because he worked there.
Right.
He was the son of Kay Cameron. And this blows me away. I mean, try to do this today, a steam engine pulling up in front of a bunch of little kids.
Now, my father and I used to get up very early in the morning and go to the train shed, and we had to get the fire going with a fan and the wood and everything to get a fire started so we could get the coal heated up so it warmed up the boiler.
These were coal-fired.
You're right.
And you were telling me the other day that eventually you had to lose the steam trains for gasoline trains. For why?
Because of the embers burning the people.
The
clothes.
embers would fly out of the chimney
Right.
and burn the kids. And everybody would say, oh, that's okay, Timmy's fine.
Yeah.
But you went to gasoline. Look at this. Now that's, speaking of gasoline, these are gasoline-powered cars.
Now, if you'll notice, this fire, every ride that was in the village had its own toolkit. And it had a dust pan, it had a brush broom, and a cloth to wipe down your rides and clean your rides. When you weren't busy, you kept your area clean. This was all part of the routine that went with the employees. Because he
right.
was a stickler for cleanliness.
You can see as these pictures go on, we're sort of progressing through the years, and now the train is, each car is painted differently because you've had time over the winter to make it up.
Well, also the water tank was put in and the coal bin was put in later. Now this is the Billabong, and this was not on a track. This was with a gasoline engine and the paddles, the side wheeler. You had
So
to
the side wheeler really moved.
Oh
it.
yeah.
Okay.
You see that's in
Yeah,
reverse.
slowing down.
And you turn it to the left so that would slide you right into the dock.
And all those kids without any safety devices whatsoever, who cared? It wasn't a problem in those days.
Well, you had to have a pilot and engineer's license to be on that ride from the state of New York. And this was one of the wagons, the circus wagon.
So
And-
could I just go out and jump on this ride here, or did I have to give him a ticket?
You gave them a ticket.
That's you. There's Linda right there.
Right.
Linda, that big smile, nice cowgirl hat, looking good.
Jimmy.
And this is Uncle Jimmy. He worked there. This
Right.
was Arto's
Brother.
brother.
You look like Caesar.
Looked like Cesar Romero. He sure does, doesn't he?
He used to tell people, I'm not. And this, we had one guy that all he did was rake paths and clean up after the horses.
And it was really important to rake the paths in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
Every morning. And you had a lot of livestock born there.
Uh-huh. This was one of them, Rusty. This was named after Russ Coughlin. He taught, he broke horses in the First World War in the cavalry. And he used to break the horses at Land of Make-Believe to drive and ride.
So you had quite a feed bill.
Well, how it took it up was we had little feeders for the corn, to feed the ducks and the geese.
Oh, I see. You could buy the feed for them.
Right.
Okay.
But
And here
kids were
comes the
smart.
snow.
They'd figure out how to jiggle it, and they get corn free. Or
Yeah. Oh, the animals did.
yeah,
A foot, 2 feet, 3 feet, not unusual then, not unusual now in the Adirondacks. You can see the castle in that shot still being built in the first winter, and it's snowing. And that's a car.
that's a Corvette.
Whose Corvette?
Uncle Otto had a Corvette when they first came out. He said it leaked like a sieve.
And here's the Cactus Flats. under a good helping of snow.
Right. That's when I said the land went to sleep during the winter.
Yeah.
And we were busy inside.
Is your dad again?
Uh-huh. With a little bit of snow.
Wow.
This is Uncle Arto's house that was destroyed. This was the stables, livery stables, and it was a place in the summertime when one woman came in, she said, I can't believe how clean this place is. She said, it's cleaner than my house.
And then the floods.
Yeah, destruction plus.
And this is an easy flood because
Right.
the water is low, see it's just a foot up, and the ice there didn't have a chance to build up too badly. But this is a later flood. You can see the watermarks. They're getting higher and higher. And there were some that literally picked up houses and moved them right on out, right?
Took the buildings right down.
So what did Arto do when this would happen?
He'd say, okay, guys, let's get busy. Let's get back to work. We've got a lot to do before spring gets here.
I mean, before summer gets here.
Well, spring is when we started our, it's warmer, then we could get outside and do more work.
So you try to get all this cleared up as
Right.
fast as you could.
Repaint, put new soil down for the roads, the red rock.
That's right, because the floods would not only wash away the soil, it'd wash away the houses. Look at this.
Right.
And in a minute here, you're going to see some people trying to pull stuff out of, look at that.
That should have been an omen to tell us long before to get out of there, but we didn't.
And rebuild, when this would happen, everybody would get together and
Right.
rebuild. And
We'd have everybody in town that had spare time would come and help us.
about how many floods over the 50s, 60s, and 70s, over about 30 years of operation?
Well, we had a total of 15 floods,
15.
but the buildings only went through 11.
Okay.
And then they,
So only went through 11.
you gotta
Ice.
remember when this ice hits, it hits the walls and puts holes right through the walls.
And you can see how thick the ice would be
Right.
here. And these things would go, if the water broke upstream, these
Well,
chunks
what'd
of
it
ice
do-
would come roaring down and go right through a
Right.
house.
Well, see, what it'd do is the river has built up, the sediment in the river has built up over the years, and it stops. The water will lift it down, and then when the water goes out the sides, it drops the ice right down, and there it sits. And you get pounded by water.
Who's this little dude here?
That's Scott, my son.
Banging up the ice.
Oh, he thought he was doing a big deal. He was going to clear the path through.
This is a very bad flood here.
Oh.
This is a lot of ice, big ice. And I guess you start where you can start, huh?
And you never knew when you were walking along, you'd just sink right down in through it with 'em.
And this is the east branch of the Ostable River we're looking
Right.
at. And it showed no mercy.
No. There, see the house.
Yeah.
The ice was, and
Is
it
this little
ripped.
Scotty again?
Uh-huh. And when it hit, it hit the light poles and ripped the wiring right out of the houses. And this is one man in town, Cal Lawrence, that came and he says, we're going to do something. And people in town got together and saved up the money to help him pay for the diesel and everything. And Ron Stafford came.
And Ron Stafford was the state representative
Right.
for the area.
And a DEC man was there, and he says,
Department of Environmental Conservation.
Right, between the DEC, the APA, and the Corps of Engineers, we never could get anything done. He went in there with that diesel, or
With-
the bulldozer, and the DEC guy said, get him out of there now. And Ron Stafford came up to him and he says, back off. These people need relief.
And this is the last shot in the home movies, most heartbreaking of all, because
It was all the kids.
in a boat going right through Cactus Flats. But it lived to shine another summer. That's the amazing thing.
Right.
Well, thanks, Linda. I really appreciate you coming down and sharing your history with us on this.
Well, thank you, and thanks to Mountain Lake PBS for all they've done for us.
Well, it's a great story, and the world should hear it.